This is the land of the Kekchi Indians, located in the Central American country of Guatemala. It is densely wooded, isolated, and penetrated only by a slow, winding river. Known as Alta Verapaz, this remote land, roughly the size of Connecticut, is a challenging one-day drive north of Guatemala City. Its inhabitants, the Kekchis, remain isolated from the main centers of commerce, their peaceful lives taken up with the tasks of daily survival. It is with these native people that Salesian missionaries are achieving so much today. The Kekchis are descendants of the Mayan peoples, one of the most highly developed Indian civilizations in the history of the Americas. Even today, Tikal, the site of such spectacular Mayan ruins, continues to fascinate archaeologists. When the Spanish arrived in Central America 500 years ago, the Mayans were already a scattered people, and those living in remote areas such as Alta Verapaz were spared some of the violence from the conqueror's swords only because their lands were so inaccessible. But throughout most of Central America, the Spanish conquerors tended to consider the Indians less than human. Native peoples were forced to do backbreaking labor, constructing public buildings, colonial palaces, and aqueducts. The monuments of the colonial empire remind us of a time of great human suffering, as well as remarkable human achievement. Spanish conquerors enslaved the Indians and robbed them of their lands, forcing them to become Spanish subjects and Christians. Many missionaries did try to convince the local military and the Spanish monarchy that the Indians should be invited, not coerced, to accept Spanish rule. A giant among those who championed the Indians was Bartolomé de las Casas, a Dominican friar who worked tirelessly for Indian rights with outstanding success. He obtained from Spain a decree that the Indians were not to be enslaved or used for bonded labor, and were to be encouraged to become Christians only through persuasion. Las Casas told the history of Christianity to a local chief, a Kekchi Indian, who in turn told it to his people. Slowly, the Christian faith took root in Alta Verapaz. Las Casas took the chief to Spain to present him to the Queen as living proof that Indians were not only human, but highly intelligent. The Queen designated the chief, Juan Matalbats, governor of Alta Verapaz, with power over all, Spaniards and Indians. Returning home, he carried with him a gift from the Queen, a bell which still tolls today in the church at San Juan Chamelco. Eventually, the Spanish colonial empire fell into disarray. A secular-minded government expelled the missionaries, leaving behind empty churches and monasteries. Their protectors gone, the Kekchi people developed a distrust of all outsiders. Although left without missionaries, the people continued in the faith, giving it unique expression in traditional devotions inherited from Spain and celebrated throughout Guatemala. Today, the ancient city of Antigua is renowned for some of these ceremonies. Preceding the Good Friday devotions, families work long hours in the streets, making beautiful carpets of pine needles, flowers, and dyed sawdust. With patience and skill, the people turn the cobblestone streets of the ancient colonial city into a kaleidoscope of color and pattern, creating an ornate pathway for the Good Friday procession. For the 200 years without missionaries, the Kekchis in Alta Verapaz also kept the faith alive through similar Holy Week observances and processions. In 1935, Salesian missionary Father Joseph Schmitz arrived. It was the beginning of a Salesian dedication to preserve the culture and faith of the Kekchi people of Alta Verapaz. Today, Salesian missionaries follow in the footsteps of Bartolome de las Casas. They have established their headquarters for Alta Verapaz in Carcha, the very territory in which he had worked. Father Tony from Australia, Father George from India, and other Salesians are helping Kekchi Indian youth rediscover their human dignity, develop their talents, and break the isolation in which their distrust of outsiders has left them. These values and skills the Kekchi youth share with their people in the villages. What results is a newfound sense of pride and leadership as the young people help their villagers build a better life, a deeper faith, and a stronger community. One of the main centers for the Salesian program is in the remote area of Rashruha. There, 350 boys and young men, ages 14 to 24, live, study, and work. The students come from over 240 villages throughout the area, some as far as a 3-day walk. The leaders at Rashruha come from the first small group of boys who came to the center years ago and who have now chosen to join the missionaries of Don Bosco, a Kekchi religious community started by the Salesians for this work. The Girls Center, with 240 students, is located at Sunuts. It has given birth to a Salesian community of Kekchi sisters who guide the program. Sister Luisa, their superior, was one of the first young women who came as a student to the center. The purpose of both centers with their unique program is to provide the skills and leadership training to enable young men and women to breach the wall of separation and distrust and to transform their villages into more supportive, faith-centered, and productive communities. Otherwise, the young Kekchi Indians tend to be ashamed of their culture and see no hope for the people of Alta Verapaz. They dream of going to the cities with their imposing buildings and vital energy. Naively, the Indians are sure that there they will find a better life. It is a dream that often finds them trapped in urban slums. Their lack of both skills and knowledge of Spanish is no match for city pressures. Often, both children and parents are forced to scavenge in dumps just to survive. But there is hope in Alta Verapaz. Through the Salesian program, the Kekchi are choosing to remain on their land. Whatever the boys and girls learn, they take back to their villages so their people can learn it too. This plan, established by Father Tony and Father George, has worked out so well that the outreach has multiplied the program many times over, affecting countless villages in Alta Verapaz. A radio station, under the direction of the sisters, helps to bridge the miles. Announcements by radio prepare the villages for the arrival of young Kekchi teachers who will be holding classes. The radio is also a means of bringing the gospel to the people. The Don Bosco Center at Rashruha is extremely isolated, but its locale was chosen to make it accessible to as many Kekchi villages as possible. A typical day for the boys begins at dawn.
Bendigamos al Señor.
These students from so many different villages sleep in dormitories, and being one among so many, each quickly learns the value of neatness and order. The colorful jugs in the background are filled by the students each evening at the river, about a mile away. Each jug has a boy's name on it and supplies his daily allotment of water for personal hygiene. Meal preparation is a part of the daily program. The girls still use the centuries-old method of grinding corn to make tortillas, the bread of the Indians. And not to be outdone, the boys show what they can do in the bakery. The boys and girls are as self-sufficient as possible, growing their own fruits and vegetables, even raising some of their own meat. Incredibly, each boy and girl is fed for less than 70 cents a day. All tasks are rotated, both for the sake of learning various skills and for equality. Everyone learns the discipline of working together, a discipline that is invaluable when the students return to the villages. Both boys and girls are eager and hungry to learn. The dropout rate in the program is incredibly less than 1%. Prayer and worship are an important part of each day. Guitars, marimbas, and singing add spirit and joy to life, both in and out of the chapel. Literacy training takes place in both kekchi and Spanish. Learning to read and write kekchi adds to the students' pride in themselves and their culture, and aids them in teaching the people.
Muy bien. ¿Y cómo se llama este sujeto?
Spanish is necessary because Guatemalan textbooks are written in Spanish. Lessons begin at the most basic level, but by the time the students are doing 5th and 6th grade work, they are already going to the villages to teach literacy. Domingo uses his growing knowledge of Spanish to teach the people in the village the language they will need to communicate in the marketplace and with the larger population of Guatemala.
Él aprende. Na sol. Na sol. Lahat nagatsol o nagatsolok. Tu aprendes. Ngataru di atin tu. Lahat. Lahat.
With the help of Sister Juana, Marta Linda has become literate in kekchi, so she helps the families of another village learn to read and write their native tongue as well as Spanish.
La inni rao, la at nagatrao, aan narao, la on korao.
Educating women in Guatemala is a giant leap forward for the country. Music is a vital part of the student's life. Valeriano is just beginning to learn guitar, and he's all thumbs.
Ay, mas ko.
He manages a chord or two, but wonders if he will ever really be able to play. The kekchi are natural musicians and have great talent. Both boys and girls take joy in singing. It was singing that first drew Sister Luisa, when she was a youngster, to become a student at the center. Religious studies help the students deepen their faith. Father George works with a group of catechists. He had the New Testament translated into kekchi and had it illustrated as well in order to make the Word of God come alive for the Kekchi Indians. Ricardo is a special example of the success of the program. He entered Don Bosco Center as a young boy, finished his studies, married, had a family, and today is ordained as the first Kekchi married deacon in all of Guatemala. In the classroom, Guillermo prepares students to bring the faith to the villages. In a mission territory the size of Connecticut, Arturo and the other catechists are invaluable in keeping the faith alive in villages too numerous and widely scattered to be visited frequently by a priest. In addition to academic subjects, both girls and boys are trained in agriculture and in crafts and household skills to take back to their villages. The boys are discovering the complexities of soil enrichment and raising experimental crops. Roberto is learning about new seeds, a knowledge which he will share with the villagers. And the girls have become experts in composting, an important step in raising successful organic crops for family gardens. Back at Don Bosco Center, the boys work in teams and raise sugarcane. They have built a sugarcane press to extract the sugar-bearing juice from the cane, an ingenious device practical for the villages without electricity. After processing, the sugar is consumed in their own centers, and the surplus is sold at market to support the program. In Kekchi culture, the women are in charge of the family livestock, so raising pigs is part of the girls' program. They learn how to inoculate against disease and how to grow healthy animals, knowledge they can share with the village women. Building skills are an essential part of the program. The students have constructed most of the buildings at the centers. All of the landscaping and maintenance are done with the all-purpose machete, an incredible feat. Jose is learning the proper use of the various tools needed for carpentry and woodworking. With these skills, he and the other boys have been able to make all of the furnishings for the centers. Such skills foster a great sense of personal pride in their being able to make what they need with their own hands. The students also build and transport the benches and blackboards needed for the villages. Eventually, the boys become skilled craftsmen and are able to take this knowledge back to their villages and share it with the Kekchi men. Boys as well as girls learn to wash and mend their own clothes. Some girls are just beginning to sew, while others are accomplished seamstresses. Zorilla is working at the sewing machine under the watchful eye of Sister Santos. When the students go to teach sewing to the village women, a sewing machine goes along with them. Sewing machines, benches, blackboards, whatever is needed, are transported in the center's pickup truck, chauffeured by Sister Louisa, the first kekchi woman ever to drive a vehicle. In the villages, women form sewing circles, which greatly enhance the enjoyment of the work and foster community building. Sewing skills also rekindle the desire to learn a lost kekchi art, weaving. Weaving is a native craft which, over the centuries, had died out in Alta Verapaz. The sisters teach the skills needed to revive this beautiful art. It is an art that the kekchis can take pride in as an expression of their own culture and as a way to create special clothing and products for market. Crocheting and embroidery are also part of the girls' program. Training in childcare provides vital experience for the students to take back to their villages, where infant mortality rates are extremely high. Caring properly for young children and tending to their basic health and nutritional needs take on added significance because there is no access to medical help in the villages. What a contrast between these children and those we see in the slums of Guatemala City. There, children must often fend for themselves as parents go off to find work. Basic health care is also part of the girls' program. Here they learn some rudimentary nursing, such as recognizing infections and giving the proper dosage of medicine or administering inoculations, skills they can use to help the people in the villages who rarely see a doctor. Of course, being the patient when everyone is learning to give inoculations can be less than fun. Valeriano has finally learned to play the guitar and is proudly ready to teach children in the village. Like young people everywhere, the students at the centers enjoy having fun. As the day comes to an end, the boys trek the mile down to the river to swim and bathe and do their wash, a daily routine. Then each one fills his jug with water and takes it back to the center to be ready for the morning. Later in the evening, before they retire, many of the students choose to take advantage of open time to study or to learn typing. Such activities are on a volunteer basis, but these students are eager. They want to better themselves and their people. It is this enthusiasm and outreach to the villages that have so impressed the Kellogg Foundation in the United States. Father Tony, Father George, and Salesian volunteer Julio Castellanos study the plans for additional larger centers being funded by Kellogg. Like the Salesians, the Kellogg Foundation believes the students in this program can influence the whole future of Alta Verapaz and stem the flight to the cities. The kekchi youth are giving their own people pride in staying on the land and are transforming their birthplaces into places of economic security and hope. This vision has taken root because of the faith of Father Tony, Father George, the Salesian family, and most of all, the students. A song of hope can be heard in this ancient Mayan land. It is a song that will be joined by more and more voices in the villages of Alta Verapaz. It is the song of the kekchi, people of hope.
I'm Father Edward, Director of Salesian Missions. The successful program you have just seen is an example of the worldwide effort of 40,000 Salesians to bring hope and dignity to the poor, especially the young, and to inspire them with a living faith. If you would like to be part of this dynamic work through your financial support, or if you would like to become a Salesian missionary, write to Salesian Missions, New Rochelle, New York. God bless you.